Hello and welcome to this demo of the Testable platform. In this demo, I'll show you how to quickly get started in creating your first load test. So first thing first, we'll go ahead and log into our account. If you don't have one, you can go ahead and sign up first and go through that process. So after we log in, we'll be prompted to create our first test case. So let's go ahead and do that. So for the purpose of this test, let's do a small load test of the Google homepage. So if we go here, we'll give it a name and the URL that we're targeting our test at, and click the next button or enter. At this point, we have to define the scenario, which is basically the set of steps that will be executed during our test. So you have a couple options here. You can record the steps, which is what we'll do in this demo, or you can write a test script, which is basically JavaScript that will execute in Node.js. So let's go ahead and click record. And what happens is Testable generates this gateway. And the gateway is basically a man-in-the-middle proxy, where when we use the gateway, it will appear as if we're using google.com, but every interaction that we do will get recorded into our scenario. So because it's a HTTP test, we can just go ahead and click the link. And what you'll see is this looks like we just loaded the Google homepage, but if you look in the URL bar, we've actually loaded the gateway that we just generated. And if we go back to our test, what we'll see is that loading google.com actually involved 13 steps that include both the actual loading of the page, images, JavaScript, etc. For any specific step, if we click on it, we can see the specific details of that server interaction, as well as with the packets that were sent and received. And if we double click on it, we can actually see exactly what was sent and exactly what was received for that particular step. So once we're happy with this, we can move on to the next step, which is configuring our actual load test. So at this point, we want to configure exactly how we want the scenario to execute. So let's call this the demo configuration. And we want to also define how many concurrent clients we want per region. And a concurrent client is basically like a simulated user. It's a thread that will execute our scenario in parallel on the test agent. So let's go ahead and do 5 per region. And we have 3 choices of regions at the moment. So let's go ahead and choose AWS North Virginia and AWS Oregon. Now we can choose how long we want this test to run for. So let's go with one minute. And then if you click Advanced Options, you can see a few more things like how long to sleep between iterations of the scenario and how long we want to ramp up to our full number of concurrent clients. So because it's such a small number, let's reduce it to 10 seconds. And then let's go ahead and start the test. Now what you'll see happen is that we will start to see the results of the test flow in as the agents execute our test, and we get a little console that's telling us exactly what's going on as the test executes. So we can see that the execution started, it was allocated to agents in Oregon and North Virginia, and now the test is underway in those 2 regions. And if we keep scrolling down, we can see overall how many concurrent clients are currently running, how many requests per second they're producing, active throughput, and then other various summary metrics for the test, including how many requests were made, how many were successful, the average request per second, and then things like our overall mean response time, 99th percentile, and throughput. And then we can also see this information per resource. So for each of the steps in our scenario, we are capturing results. So you can see overall, we may have made 845 requests, but per URL it's less. And if we keep scrolling down, we can see various charts showing us things like latency across the test, successful requests, and then and so on and so forth. There's quite a few charts that come by default that you can investigate, and actually this can all be customized, which I'll show you in a second. And then at the bottom, you see which locations the executed the test. So in our case, it was Oregon and North Virginia. And if we come back up, we can see that execution finished in both North Virginia and Oregon. And then the results, the 910 results, have been processed and aggregated, and the test is now complete. At this point, if we don't like, we can also come in here and see the results per region. So we can see that the specifics in Oregon, and we can see the specifics in North Virginia, if we want. We can also, if we don't like the metrics this is showing us, we can also come in here and configure different metrics or add ones. And as you can see, there's quite a few of these to choose from. We can also add columns. The same kind of idea. We can add columns to the grid to show us what we want. And we can add, remove, or customize the charts that it shows us. If you don't like this chart, for example, if we don't want to see the 95th percentile on the latency chart, we can go ahead and update it, and you'll see that it removed that from the chart. So, and then these dashboards can be saved and shared with relevant users, as well as the results can be downloaded and analyzed in a tool like Excel or elsewhere if you want. And that's basically it. That's how you start with the platform. There's lots more you can do with Testable, but that should help get you started. Thanks for listening.